In 2024, humanity thought its biggest problems were climate change and political tensions. We were wrong. Dead wrong. It was a regular Tuesday morning when our world changed forever. The first signs came from astronomers around the world. Their instruments picked up something unusual, a massive fleet of ships, hidden behind Mars, slowly making their way toward Earth. Dr. Emily Carter was drinking her third cup of coffee in her lab at MIT when the news broke. As one of the world's leading quantum physicists, she knew this discovery would change everything. But she had no idea she would soon become humanity's last hope. Dr. Carter? Her assistant burst into the lab, face pale. You need to see this. The news footage showed what looked like massive black triangles, each the size of Manhattan, now visible in our sky. They moved with impossible grace, defying everything we knew about physics. The world watched in stunned silence as these ships positioned themselves above every major city on Earth. Then came the message. It boomed through every electronic device on the planet, in perfect English. People of Earth, we are the Zelaxian Empire. Your planet has resources we require. You have 48 hours to surrender control of your world. Resistance will result in your extinction. The next few hours were chaos. Stock markets crashed. Governments scrambled. People panicked. But in her lab, Emily Carter noticed something strange about the aliens' transmission. Something in the way it interfered with local quantum experiments. This can't be right, she muttered, staring at her readings. The aliens' technology was somehow affecting quantum states in a way that shouldn't be possible. Unless... Before she could finish her thought, 2 military officers burst into her lab. Dr. Carter, the taller one said, I'm Captain Jack Reynolds. By direct order of the President, you need to come with us immediately. We have less than 47 hours to save our world. Emily looked at her computer screen one last time. The quantum readings were still going crazy. Maybe, just maybe, this was more than just interference. Maybe it was the key to everything. As the military helicopter lifted off from MIT's campus, Emily watched the alien ships hovering in the distance. They looked invincible. But if her theory was right, these advanced beings had overlooked something fundamental about the universe, something that could be their downfall. The question was, could she prove it before time ran out? The underground military bunker was unlike anything Emily had ever seen. 300 feet below the Rocky Mountains, the world's leading scientists and military strategists gathered in what they called the war room. Screens covered every wall, showing live feeds of the alien ships hovering above major cities worldwide. 45 hours until their deadline, announced General Sarah Chen, addressing the room. Dr. Carter, we've brought you here because your quantum research might be our only chance. What did you find? Emily stood up, her hands trembling slightly as she faced the room full of expectant faces. The alien ships are emitting a strange quantum signature. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. But here's the interesting part. It's affecting our quantum experiments in ways that shouldn't be possible. She pulled up her data on the main screen. Their technology seems to rely on quantum entanglement on a massive scale. They're literally bending space-time to move their ships. But there's a flaw in their system, a big one. Before she could continue, alarms blared throughout the facility. Captain Reynolds burst into the room. They're moving! The ships over Tokyo and London just dropped something. The screens switched to live footage. Strange, silver spheres descended from the alien ships, each about the size of a car. As they touched the ground, they split open like blooming flowers, releasing swarms of smaller drones. This is just a demonstration, the alien voice boomed again through every device. A small taste of our power. You now have 24 hours to surrender, not 48. Choose wisely. The drones began scanning everything in sight, using beams of light to create detailed 3D maps of both cities. They weren't attacking, they were gathering intelligence. They're testing us, Captain Reynolds said grimly, showing off their technological superiority. But Emily wasn't listening. She was staring at her quantum readings, which had gone haywire the moment the spheres opened. Wait, this is it! The drones, they're all quantum entangled with their motherships. It's how they process and share data so quickly. But this level of entanglement, at this scale... She turned to the room, her eyes bright with realization. What if we could disrupt their quantum network, create a cascading failure that would affect their entire fleet? How? General Chen demanded. We'd need to build a quantum disruption device. something that could create a controlled quantum decoherence wave. But to affect their entire fleet. Emily's voice trailed off as she did the calculations in her head. "What is it?" Reynolds asked. "What do you need?" Emily looked up, her face pale. "To build this, we'd need access to element 115, a theoretical element that's never been successfully stabilized on Earth. The only place we might find it is on their ships," Reynolds finished. "You're saying we need to get aboard one of those things?" "Yes, and we have less than 24 hours to figure out how." Just then, one of the technicians shouted from across the room, "Sir, we're detecting another fleet of ships entering the solar system. There. They're even bigger than the first ones." The room fell silent as new images appeared on the screens. More triangle-shaped ships, these ones glowing with an ominous red light, were approaching from beyond Jupiter's orbit. "Dr. Carter," General Chen said quietly, "whatever plan you have, we need it now, because I don't think we're just dealing with an invasion force anymore." "What do you mean?" Emily asked. "If I had to guess," Reynolds answered, "we're about to be caught in the middle of an alien civil war." On the screens, the new fleet of ships accelerated toward Earth, their red glow intensifying like angry stars in the night sky. Time was running out. In the bunker's main lab, Dr. Emily Carter and her team worked frantically to build a prototype quantum scanner. They needed to understand exactly how the alien ships maintained their massive quantum entanglement network before they could hope to disrupt it. "The second fleet will reach Earth in approximately 18 hours, Captain Reynolds announced, entering the lab. "Our long-range scans show they're definitely hostile to the first group. They've already exchanged fire near Jupiter's orbit." Emily didn't look up from her work. "That might actually help us. If they're fighting each other, they might not notice what we're doing." The prototype in front of her looked deceptively simple, a silver cube about the size of a shoebox, covered in complex circuitry. But inside, it contained some of the most advanced quantum technology ever created on Earth. "We've identified their weakest point," Emily explained, pointing to a 3D hologram of one of the alien ships. "Each ship has a quantum core that manages their entanglement network. If we can get close enough to scan it with this device, we might be able to understand how to disrupt it." "And how exactly do we get close enough?" Reynolds asked. Emily smiled for the first time in hours. "Remember those scout drones they sent down? We captured one intact in London. Their quantum signature suggests they're allowed to return to the mothership automatically." "You want to hide inside a drone?" Reynolds looked skeptical. "Better. We've figured out how to mask our own quantum signature to match theirs. We can make a small ship look like one of their drones." The plan came together quickly. A stealth aircraft was modified to match the quantum signature of the alien drones. Captain Reynolds would pilot it, with Emily and 2 quantum engineers on board. They would approach the mothership under the guise of a returning scout drone. As the team prepared for launch, the sky above them turned into a spectacular light show. The 2 alien fleets had begun their battle, exchanging energy beams that lit up the upper atmosphere like artificial auroras. "This is either the best timing or the worst," Reynolds muttered, as they boarded their modified craft. They launched under cover of darkness. Their small ship, now quantum masked as an alien drone, rose steadily through the atmosphere. Above them, the massive triangular ships of both fleets engaged in what looked like a deadly dance, firing weapons that bent space itself. Emily clutched her quantum scanner tightly as they approached the nearest mothership. Her device picked up something strange, a familiar pattern in the quantum noise that shouldn't have been there. She double-checked the readings, then triple-checked them. "This can't be right," she whispered. "What is it?" Reynolds asked, focused on piloting their craft through the chaos of the space battle. "These quantum signatures, they're not completely alien. Part of this technology, it's based on human research. My research." Before anyone could process this revelation, their ship's sensors blared a warning. A massive energy beam from the second fleet was heading straight for the mothership they were approaching. Reynolds yanked the controls, but they were too close to the mothership to evade. The energy beam struck, and space itself seemed to twist around them. The last thing Emily saw before everything went dark was her quantum scanner displaying an impossible reading, a pattern that suggested this wasn't the first time Earth had faced this threat. Emily woke to a strange humming sound. Her head throbbed as she opened her eyes, finding herself in a dimly lit corridor that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Captain Reynolds and the two engineers lay nearby, already stirring. "Everyone alive?" Reynolds whispered, checking his gear. The energy beam that hit them should have destroyed their ship. Instead, it had somehow phased them directly inside the alien vessel. The quantum scanner, miraculously intact, was going haywire. "Look at this," Emily said, pointing to the scanner's display. "These readings, they're identical to experiments I ran 3 years ago. Someone stole my research and scaled it up to an impossible degree." They moved cautiously through the ship's corridors, following the increasing quantum signatures. Every surface seemed alive with flowing patterns of light, like circuits made of liquid starlight. "There," one of the engineers pointed. "That door, the quantum signature is strongest behind it." The door opened automatically as they approached, revealing a vast chamber filled with floating holographic displays. But it was what stood in the center that made Emily gasp. A massive quantum computer, eerily similar to the prototype she'd been working on at MIT, but far more advanced. And next to it, a human desk with papers covered in equations. Her equations. "Welcome home, Dr. Carter," a voice said from behind them. They spun around to face a tall, humanoid figure. Its skin was pale blue, but its features were surprisingly human-like. "My name is Zira," it said in perfect English. "I'm what you might call a quantum archaeologist." "What is this place?" Emily demanded. "Why do you have my research?" "Your research?" Zira smiled sadly. "Dr. Carter, these equations existed long before you wrote them. They were created by your great-grandmother, Dr. Sarah Carter, in 1943. History just forgot about them, or rather, was made to forget." Emily's mind raced. Her grandmother had told her stories about Sarah Carter, a brilliant physicist who disappeared during World War II. Everyone assumed she died in a lab accident. "The first fleet you see out there," Zira continued, "they're the ones who've been manipulating Earth's development for centuries, stealing human innovations and using them for their own empire. The second fleet belongs to those of us who believe this has gone on long enough." A massive explosion rocked the ship. Through the chamber's windows, they watched as the two fleets clashed directly over Earth's atmosphere, their weapons tearing holes in space itself. "Your great-grandmother discovered the key to quantum manipulation," Zira explained quickly. "But she also found something else, a way to break the entire system. The answer is in your blood, in a genetic sequence that allows human minds to perceive quantum states differently than any other species. That's why they've been watching your family for generations." Emily looked at her quantum scanner again, suddenly understanding. "The disruption pattern. It's not about the technology at all, is it? It's about us, about humans." "Exactly," Zira nodded. "But we need to act now. The First Fleet isn't just here for resources. They're here to prevent humanity from reaching its true potential. Because once you do..." Another explosion, closer this time, cut off Zira's words. Emergency lights flashed throughout the chamber. "The ship's quantum core is destabilizing," one of the engineers shouted. "Dr. Carter," Zira said urgently, "you need to make a choice right now. I can show you how to unlock what's already inside you, the ability to manipulate quantum states with your mind alone. But once you do, nothing will ever be the same." Emily looked at her scanner one last time, then at Captain Reynolds, who nodded grimly. Above them, the battle raged on, while humanity's fate hung in the balance, waiting for her decision. "Show me," Emily said firmly, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Zira placed a small crystal device on Emily's forehead. Instantly, the world changed. It was as if she'd been looking at reality through a foggy window all her life, and someone had finally wiped it clean. She could see the quantum fields now, invisible forces that connected everything. The ship wasn't just a vessel, it was a living web of quantum possibilities, and she could touch them all. "Focus on the battle above," Zira instructed. "See how they're manipulating quantum fields to power their weapons?" Emily nodded, watching the streams of energy flow between the ships like rivers of light. But something was wrong. The quantum fields were becoming unstable, creating a cascade effect that was spreading through Earth's atmosphere. "They're tearing reality apart," she gasped. "If this continues, the quantum damage will destroy Earth's entire molecular structure." Captain Reynolds checked his tactical display. "We've got less than 10 minutes before the damage becomes irreversible." Emily closed her eyes, feeling the quantum fields respond to her thoughts. Her great, Grandmother's research made sense now. Humans weren't just observers of quantum mechanics, they were meant to be its masters. "I can stop this," she said, "but I need to get to the quantum core." They raced through the ship's corridors, now bathed in red emergency lighting. The battle outside intensified, each blast sending shockwaves through the quantum field that Emily could now feel in her bones. The quantum core was a sphere of pure energy, suspended in the heart of the ship. Emily approached it, her mind now seeing the complex patterns of quantum entanglement that powered the entire alien fleet. "The First Fleet's ships are all connected through quantum entanglement," she explained quickly. "If I can disrupt the pattern here, it should affect their entire network." "And the Second Fleet?" Reynolds asked. "They'll have to retreat once the quantum fields start collapsing. They can't risk being caught in the cascade." Emily reached out, not with her hands, but with her mind, touching the quantum fields that flowed through the core. She could feel every ship in the First Fleet, their quantum signatures humming like deadly music. Then she began to change the tune. The effect was immediate. Above Earth, the First Fleet's ships began to flicker, their quantum fields unraveling. The magnificent triangular vessels started to fade from reality, their matter scattered across quantum space. "They're not being destroyed," Emily explained, maintaining her concentration. "They're being forced into a quantum state that can't exist in our reality. They'll have to retreat to their own dimension or risk complete molecular dissolution." The Second Fleet, recognizing what was happening, began to pull back. Zira smiled. "You've done it. You've proven why they feared human potential so much." But Emily wasn't finished. As the alien ships retreated, she reached deeper into the quantum fields, using her newfound understanding to repair the damage to Earth's atmosphere. The torn fabric of space-time began to heal itself. When it was over, the skies above Earth were clear again. Both alien fleets had vanished, leaving only the faintest ripples in the quantum field as evidence they were ever there. "What happens now?" Reynolds asked, looking at Zira. "Now," Zira replied, "humanity begins its true evolution. The knowledge is out there in your DNA, in your quantum potential. You'll need guidance, of course. That's why some of us will stay, if you'll have us." Emily looked at her quantum scanner, now showing perfectly stable readings. "We have a lot to learn," she said, "but at least now we know we're ready for it." 6 months after the alien fleets disappeared, the world had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The underground facility in the Rocky Mountains had been transformed into the International Quantum Research Center. Dr. Emily Carter stood at its heart, surrounded by a mix of human and alien technology. Zira and a small group of quantum archaeologists had stayed behind, working alongside Earth's scientists to help humanity understand its newfound abilities. "The quantum sensitivity is spreading," Emily explained to a group of international leaders. "We've identified the genetic marker that allows humans to perceive quantum fields. Within 3 generations, most of humanity will have this ability naturally." The holographic displays around her showed the results of their latest tests. Across the globe, more people were beginning to show signs of quantum awareness. Children, especially, seemed to adapt to it naturally, seeing the quantum world as easily as they saw visible light. "But with this gift comes great responsibility," she continued. "We're not just observers of quantum mechanics anymore, we're active participants in the universe's most fundamental processes." Captain Reynolds, now heading Earth's new quantum defense initiative, stepped forward. "We've established early warning systems using our quantum sensing abilities. If either fleet returns, we'll know well in advance." But the real changes were happening on a smaller scale. Quantum technology, guided by human intuition, was solving problems that had plagued humanity for centuries. Clean energy became a reality as humans learned to tap into quantum fields directly. Medical breakthroughs emerged as doctors began to see and manipulate the quantum structure of diseases. In her private lab, Emily kept her great grandmother's equations framed on the wall. Next to them hung a photo from 1943, Sarah Carter standing proud in her laboratory, holding notes that would change humanity's destiny decades later. "Your great-grandmother would be proud," Zira said, entering the lab. She knew humanity would reach this point eventually. That's why she hid her research where only future generations could find it, in your family's very DNA. Emily nodded, looking at the quantum fields that now danced visibly around them. "I still wonder about the first fleet. Will they return?" "Perhaps," Zero replied, "but they'll find a very different Earth waiting for them. Your species has finally stepped into its cosmic inheritance. The real question is, what will you do with it?" Through the lab's window, Emily watched a group of children playing in the facility's garden. They were learning to see quantum fields naturally, pointing excitedly at patterns in reality that most adults were only beginning to understand. Their laughter echoed through the halls as they discovered new ways to perceive the universe. "We'll do what humans have always done," Emily said, smiling. "We'll explore, we'll learn, we'll grow. But this time, we'll do it with our eyes truly open to all the wonders around us." Above them, the quantum fields rippled peacefully in Earth's atmosphere, a constant reminder of humanity's great leap forward. The universe had always been stranger and more wonderful than we imagined. We just needed to learn how to see it. And now, at last, we could.